Some pleasant word game.
It's all right. Make a sentence out of the following words. Face sodding, you're shut.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Blackadder podcast, where, Ian, do you fancy a pleasant word game?
Sure, why not?
Okay, rearrange these words to make a sentence. You are a git.
Are you git?
Mm-hmm. How are we?
Are you a git? No, I am not. I'm not too bad. Gerry, how are you this week?
Tremendous.
You're improving week on week as we go through this series.
Yeah, infinite capacity to improve.
There are no 2 weeks when you feel exactly the same.
Never.
It's impressive.
Yourself, your health, keep holding up?
Very well. I hate the summer, as you well know, but I'm surviving.
Just about.
Yeah.
Enjoy this week's episode.
Yeah, as a season finale, it's a good one.
It is.
As you would expect, given what has come before. It's very different from, I think, the first 5 in terms of the way they've set it up.
In what way? Murder mystery? No.
They take away a lot of the interactions that we were used to from the first 5 episodes, the Baldric and Blackadder, Percy and Blackadder, the Queen and Blackadder, and you're isolating Melchett, who doesn't really say that much. He's got the occasional one-line exchange with Blackadder, and it's the two of them, and then you've got the others grouped where they haven't been before, so it's a different arrangement, and it gives a sort of a different feel to the episode, I think.
There's a segregation about it. They all perform on their own.
Yeah, and everything is kind of, it's almost like it's a bit fresh. This episode, it's not just a 6th episode of the same thing.
Okay, well, we can chat through that as we progress. So unless you want to see anything at the start this week.
I always like to say things at the start because folk forget to press the skip button if they're driving. They're not allowed to touch their phones anymore. It's really frustrating for them, but good for us. Please, when you stop driving, go to Apple Podcasts and rate, review and subscribe to this show, because that will help more people find out about the show and therefore listen to it, hopefully. And then we'll get more folk coming to blackadderpodcast.com and chatting about it, and it'd be great if you guys could do that, because we like to talk about the show with folk. If you want to talk to us directly, get us on social media. We're at BlackadderPod on both Twitter and Facebook.
Okay, do you have a summary this week?
As always,
crack on.
In chains, Blackadder and Melchett are kidnapped by the evil Prince Ludwig and imprisoned in his lair while they wait for the Queen to decide which of them to pay the ransom for. Both men are happy to betray Queen and country for their freedom, but will their Machiavellian approach pay dividends, or is the end nigh for Edmund?
Royal Court. We often begin there, and that's where we begin this week. Blackadder is shouting insults at a disturbed and frightened looking Melchett and the Queen.
I love this. And it turns out this is not something he has said, but something that has been said to him.
Yes, he is recounting a story in which he turns out to be the hero.
The hero or the villain, depending on your point of view. He escapes out a privy window, presumably after being involved with somebody's wife or something along those lines.
The Queen obviously thinks he is quite, maybe not heroic, but she's impressed.
Dashing, maybe.
Dashing, yes. Says he is so naughty. And he responds by saying, well, he does try to be, and then 10 minutes later, when he gets his breath back, he tries again.
Yes. Melchett, meantime, wants to take attention back to affairs of state because his old tutor's son has been kidnapped and wants... Oh, there's a ransom being demanded. Now, there's a commentary for this episode with Stephen Fry on his own doing it, who plays Melchett, and an interesting note from this scene is that Melchett's coat is real fur and very, very heavy. Wouldn't get away with that now.
No.
I wonder what animal. What do you think, looking at it?
Oh, quite obviously it's beaver.
I thought bear.
Did you?
No, I didn't really think about it, but maybe bear.
Do you prefer beaver or bear?
It's a tough choice. I'm going to pass on that one for this week and get back to the kidnapping.
Okay. So, The Queen can't decide what to do, and she turns to Blackadder for some advice.
Edmund, what would you say?
Well, as you know, madam, I have had experience of this dreadful situation. Only last year, my aunt came to me to beg for help in the ransom of my Uncle Osric.
Well, then you know something of the dreadful pain involved.
Indeed I do, and can suggest no better answer than the one I gave to her.
Which was?
Get stuffed.
Blackadder, you would jest over a young man's life.
A young man read young idiot. Look, anyone stupid enough to let some mustachioed dago come up to them in a corridor, say, "Excuse me, meester," and hit them over the head with a big stick deserves everything they get.
Oh, my lord, you're in good fooling this morning.
Ah, thank you, Boric.
I heard quite an amusing story myself the other day.
Oh, good.
Excuse me, Meister.
Yes, what is it? I said, what is it? Not hit me hard on the head.
Quick question. Is the term dago racist?
Probably.
If you prefix it with the word greasy, is it particularly racist?
I'd have said so, yeah.
We'll not do that then.
We won't.
Back in the throne room, the Queen has had a change of heart.
Yes, she decides to show some compassion and agrees to pay this ransom. However, she makes it clear that this is the very, very last time she will do such a thing, and she signs a document saying as much.
Yes, although she has to revise it slightly.
Why?
Because she doesn't want to commit to her own death in writing.
How would she have done that?
Well, she initially goes with the finish, cross my heart and hope to die, and Melchett suggests she does not commit to her own death.
No. How does she revise it?
Well, we find out a bit later on
in
the episode. We'll come back to that.
We will, yeah. So a happy Melchett exits, but immediately befalls the same fate as we heard Blackadder. Now, just to reiterate, Blackadder walks out, he's approached by 2 guards, and he's struck over the head.
Exactly the way he described it, as what would happen to an idiot.
Yes. They both awake in a prison.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously a prison because they're chained up.
They're tied back to back, sitting on the floor, and Blackadder is informed by Melchett that they have been kidnapped.
Yes. Initially, Blackadder criticises Melchett for not keeping his house tidier.
Yes, he thinks it's his place, and his second reaction is to be embarrassed.
Deeply because of what he said to the Queen, obviously. And Melchett says, "As private parts to the gods are we, they play with us to their amusement." I think that's a twist on a Shakespearean quote.
No doubt. Their torturer enters, and he talks to Blackadder instead of Melchett at Blackadder's insistence. But not being able to speak Spanish, Melchett has to translate what he is saying. And what do we discover?
The the torturer wants to both speak to and torture Edmund.
Yes. So we cut to some time later, and Blackadder is inside a torture box.
It's like the big comedy key that you're using to wind it up.
And we see some burning pokers lying in nearby. This is not a good position to be in.
No, it's not. But he's still got his wits about him as he tells the torturer that he knows speaky dago.
He wants to speak himself to the British ambassador. And because they're having this communication situation, Blackadder decides to start at the beginning.
He's going to teach him about English.
Yeah. Perhaps this is a ploy to elongate their stay there before the torture begins.
Perhaps.
Back over to the royal court, and Percy is losing a game to Queenie.
Well, he's not initially losing the game, but he takes a good decision when the Queen suggests he might want to lose the game.
What's Nursey doing?
She is, I think, either petting or feeding Baldric.
Both, I think, yeah. She's hand feeding him.
Like he's a dog.
Yes. Percy tells the Queen that there is no sign of Blackadder, and she claims, he's vanished. How does Percy respond to this?
Like an oak table.
Indeed, just like his uncle's oak table vanished. How did his uncle's oak table vanish?
Well, interestingly enough, it vanished along with the rest of his house and indeed his uncle on the night of the Great Stepney Fire. It's a mystery, though.
Perplexing, he says.
I think even the Queen has figured this one out.
Yes, because she gives him two options.
Yes, he can either shut up or be executed.
Yes. Percy, you would think it'd be a fairly obvious answer, but no.
Well, yeah, a bit like last week we saw Blackadder puzzling on a response to Great Booze Up. It's the same sort of elongated pause.
Yes, but last week Blackadder had to come up with an answer.
Yes, this week he just says, I'll shut up.
Yes, after about 15 seconds.
You hear a really loud laugh from the audience. Did you recognise the laugh?
No, was it canned laughter?
No, it was Robbie Coltrane who'd come to watch them filming, and you can hear him laughing in the audience, apparently.
Ah, fantastic. I need to listen back to that then. We'll speak of Robbie Coltrane in the future.
In the future.
So we're back to the jail. Blackadder has to play a game of charades with the torturer in order to understand what?
Yeah, it's like, give me a clue. They're trying to get this phrase translated, and it turns out that the torturer thinks that Edmund is a bastard son of a bitch.
Yep. Blackadder returns the compliment by calling him a fornicating baboon.
Yeah, and that's going to be hard to mime from inside a box.
So we cut to a little later, and the conversation has progressed to what is going to befall Blackadder and his testicles.
Yeah, ultimately he figures out that if he admits he's head over heels in love with Satan and all his little wizards, the torturer will remove Edmund's testicles with a blunt instrument resembling some kind of gardening tool, they hadn't quite figured that out, and roast them over a large fire.
Okay, so that sounds pretty severe. What happens if he doesn't?
He will be held upside down in a vat of warm marmalade and have his testicles removed with a blunt instrument.
Oh, okay. Option A, please.
He says he loves Satan. And then they find out what that gardening instrument was.
A scythe.
Indeed.
Back over to the royal chamber. And they're still wondering where Blackadder and now Melchett.
Well, they're looking for them. Queenie's looking behind the curtains. She thinks they're hiding.
Yes. And using all his powers, and using all his mental faculties, Percy is able to reason that perhaps they have been kidnapped.
The Queen is not at all convinced because Blackadder told her that only real idiots get kidnapped.
And at this point, it's brilliant. Percy panics and stumbles around because he realises he is a prime target.
And meanwhile, in the background, Nurse is petting Baldric now. She's stroking his hair.
Yes. And we're back to the prison. At this point, their captor enters.
Forgive me, Herr Blackadder. I have been neglecting my duties as a host. Please accept my apologies.
I accept nothing from a man who imprisons his guests in a commode.
I hope this scum has not inconvenienced you.
It takes more than a maniac trying to cut off my ghoulies to inconvenience me.
Good. If he had inconvenienced you, I was going to offer you his tongue.
Believe me, sir, if he had inconvenienced me, you would not have a tongue with which to make such an offer.
Let me assure you, Herr Blackadder, if I no longer had a tongue with which to make such an offer, you would no longer have a tongue with which to tell me that if I had inconvenienced you, I would no longer have a tongue with which to offer you his tongue.
Yes, well, enough of this banter. Who the hell are you, sausage breath?
You do not remember me then, Herr Blackadder?
I don't believe I've had the pleasure.
Oh, on the contrary, we have met many times, although you knew me by another name. Do you recall a mysterious black marketeer and smuggler called Otto, with whom you used to dine and plot and play the biscuit game at the old pizzle in Dover?
My God!
Yes, I was the waitress.
Have you ever played the biscuit game?
Just on my own.
Fair enough. Apparently, Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry still use the word inconvenience instead of inconvenience when they talk to one another if it comes up.
A little in-joke.
Yeah. I might start doing that as well. I quite like it.
Okay.
Do you know this performance by Hugh Laurie is very reminiscent of his work in The Night Manager?
Not ever seen it.
Oh, you should.
Hmm?
Really? You've not seen it?
No.
Very much worth taking the time to find that.
Have you seen Strange Brew from the early 80s with Rick Moranis and Doug McKenzie?
No? How is this relevant?
Really? You've not? You should take the time to Have you? It's good.
You say that as if it's something that everyone's seen.
Everyone should have seen it.
Okay.
So at this point, or just after the clip there, we find out that Blackadder and Ludwig had slept together, and Blackadder wasn't the most fulfilling of lovers, but he turns the tables and starts to anger the prince. How does he do this?
With a series of very on-the-knuckle impression suggestions.
Yeah.
He suggests that he might be a drunk Glaswegian, or a black man, or a side-splitting poof,
Yeah.
or a kind of croaky one that no one quite knows what he's trying to be but finds hilarious. Anyway, and
We'll move on from that, I think.
Yeah, the less said about those ones, the better. Ludwig's clearly upset.
I mean, the drunk Glaswegian's fine.
Well, yeah, if you can do it, but there's nothing worse than folk who aren't Scottish trying to do a Scottish accent.
Like Sean Connery. Anyway, where are we?
Ludwig's given the Queen a week to pay up, or else Blackadder will die horribly, and he's confident that she will.
Yes, and in that case, then Ludwig will die horribly.
Horribly.
Yeah. Melchett is then brought in.
He literally squeals.
Yeah. He too discovers that he has known Ludwig in a different guise. Tell me about this.
Well, apparently there was an old shepherd that Melchett used to talk with at the monastery in Cornwall.
Oh, right. So it was the shepherd.
Dinkins. No.
Oh.
Ludwig was one of his sheep,
Oh.
Flossie,
Yeah.
who Melchett had been intimate with.
Okay.
And is reminded of by a bleat from Ludwig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is where we find out what the Queen's note finished with.
What was that?
Ludwig or his men have found on Melchett the Queen's warrant for ransom payment, saying she'll only ever pay one more, it'll be the last ever, cross her heart, and hope to be spanked until her bottom goes purple.
Fair enough. So Ludwig suggests that the Queen has a very difficult decision to make. Blackadder doesn't think so and immediately offers Melchett his sympathy. He says, life's all overrated anyway.
Yes.
Back over to the royal court.
Percy's reading out the message from evil Prince Ludwig the Indestructible, who apparently writes the same way that he speaks.
And the Queen agrees that she does indeed have a difficult choice to make, and she appears genuinely concerned.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I did enjoy Percy reading out many apple oggies for the inconvenience.
Back to the prison, and...
Well, we've skipped over previous difficult choices that the Queen's had to make.
Oh, sorry, yeah, go for it.
We should mention that, because Nursey pipes up in her usual bizarre way and says that it's not the first difficult choice the Queen's faced. She's had to choose in the past between moo cow milk or nursey milk, but it was always nursey milk. And she had to choose between left breasty dumpling and right breasty dumpling, but it was always both breasty dumplings. And I had to choose which one first, and then she's shut down rather abruptly by the Queen, who asks Percy to play a while to calm her. And he takes his lute up, sets it aside, plays some children's games before he falls on the floor.
Yeah, probably not what she had in mind. So we're back to the prison, and a chained Melchett wants to pass the time with some word games. We heard that at the top of the podcast.
Well,
but
he wants to sing initially, and
yeah,
he gets shut down in that option as well.
Blackadder is in no mood for his nonsense. Melchett himself is he's panicking, but Blackadder's confident, relaxed, because he believes that the choice will be him when it comes to paying up the ransom. Now, why do you think he is that confident? Because he is the sort of the right hand man, as it were. He's on at court with her all the time.
I just think that Blackadder is supremely self-confident in all matters.
Narcissistic.
Perhaps you would put it that way. He even takes time at this point to taunt Melchett about the sheep.
He does.
Because Melchett's listing the things he'll miss about England. I think it might even be quoting a poem, presumably Keats or Wordsworth or Milton or somebody.
Probably.
One of these guys. Yes, Blackadder throws in, and they're playful sheep.
Ludwig arrives with the answer.
Yes, well, he starts to read the answer, and then we go back in time a little bit to see the Queen writing this note, where she explains that she's going to expend the ransom money on
a party.
Yep, just impossible to decide between her two faves, so she's going to keep the cash, have a wizard jolly time, and try to forget them both.
Now,
hope you're not too miffed.
This upsets Ludwig more than Blackadder and Melchett, apparently, but he does have an offer for them.
As you can imagine, my friends, this makes me very unhappy.
Oh, I am sorry.
But if you gentlemen were to tell me a way to, let us say, gain access to your queen, I might just be able to commute your deaths to a life sentence.
Are you suggesting we betray her?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Blackadder, what are you saying? What of loyalty, honor, self-respect?
What of them?
Nothing.
So you will both play ball.
Yep.
Oh, what joy! See how you collapse before me, you great and incorruptible English knobs. So proud of your great big stiff upper lips.
Gloating is a sign of insecurity, Ludwig. Stop it. Now, do you want to know how to get to the Queen or not?
Yes, I saw some kind of disguise. You know, I do a very good Mary Queen of Scots.
Ouchman wears me heed.
Blackadder's attitude reminds me very much of myself.
Fair enough.
I could never be trusted with any sort of state secrets or anything like that.
Well, you've now put that on record, so...
Oh, yeah.
I suppose they read your WhatsApps anyway, don't they? The state.
No doubt. Yeah, it's one of these things, you know, people say, I would never, you can torture me, you can do whatever you like, I will never talk.
No, that won't be me.
No, as soon as they pull out a hammer. What do you want to know? I'll write it down.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to torture you just to make sure. No.
I'll give you more than you need. No problem at all.
And to torture me, all they need to do is play that attempt at a Scottish accent from Hugh Laurie.
I think it's deliberately meant. That's a German, isn't it? Putting on the Scottish accent.
Ouch, man, you made us my heat. It's a bit awful.
No, it's racist.
I would say racist. Deeply racist. Possibly the most racist thing in this episode.
Yeah, offended.
Even more than that watermelon comment earlier on.
Yeah. Okay, back to the royal court. Baldric is now eating with his face direct from a dog bowl and is being called Lassie.
Yes.
Whilst they agree that the party should be a fancy dress one, and we find out that Nursey always dresses as what?
Well, first of all, we find out Nursey would rather it was a nude party.
Ooh.
And then she suggests she might come as wood, or a pencil, which is wood. But Baldric, of all people, knows what she always dresses as, a cow.
Yes. The Queen then tests Percy by asking him about the people that they have forgotten. Now, he is smart enough to respond correctly.
Yes, what people?
Back to the prison. Ludwig comes to say his farewells and informs them that when the guards die, their sons will take over.
Yes, Blackadder thanks him, but advises that they intend to escape.
I'm not sure if that's what I would be telling them.
Well, bravado, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ludwig notes that with their information, he intends to bring down their queen and their country, and the Master of Disguise will become the master of the world. And this prompts Blackadder to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah, what does he ask and what does he suggest?
Well, he suggests that perhaps Ludwig was bullied at school.
But he claims that spots and dirty hair and wearing shorts were a sign of maturity where he came from.
But he's probed further, and he insists that when he is King of England, no one will ever call him Shorty Greasy Spot again.
And he quickly loses the rag before storming out.
Melchit's concerned, but Blackadder's able to salve his worries by saying there's a plan.
Yeah, so we cut to a little time later, and Blackadder has this plan to overpower the guards when they are at their most vulnerable.
Now, these guards are German. Is this a different group of people from the one that was torturing him earlier?
Well, there was two guards and there's one torturer.
So the torturer isn't one of the guards?
No.
So only the torturer is Spanish?
Yeah.
And the others are German?
Apparently so.
Germany didn't even exist?
Apparently it was families who worked together who owned these...
Ah, the Habsburg Empire?
Yeah.
You know all about them? Austro-Hungary and all that sort of stuff?
Ianopedia.
That was actually in my dissertation at university.
Well, you didn't know about it earlier on when you asked me.
Oh, now that you've reminded me.
Okay. Anyway.
It genuinely was. I have books about the Habsburgs in the next room.
That's fine. So why did you ask me when I came in then? Why were the Germans speaking Spanish?
Who knows?
I know. You forgot. You didn't know. Yeah.
It obviously hadn't stuck. It wasn't important enough. The German guards are automatic in their movements and their procedures, and Blackadder takes advantage.
Well, yeah. Well, they walk in with a baguette. One of them holds a baguette. The other holds a German sausage.
Yep.
And they come over to the side of the table, or the top of the table where they're sitting.
Yep, they announce what they're doing at each step. They present the food and then they taunt the prisoners a second time.
How?
They spit on the food initially.
And they taunt them a third time.
Yes, they thrust or gesticulate with their private parts in the general direction of the prisoners, at which point
Blackadder and Melchett both punch.
yes, swift backhander to the testicular area.
Yep.
And Blackadder laments that he got the hard one.
So we head over to the royal party, and the Queen is dressed as Henry VIII, her father, yeah. Whilst Percy has got some sort of fruit salad get-up on the go.
And Nursey's a phenomenally good cow.
Very good cow, yes. What's Baldric?
He's a pencil case.
How has he achieved this?
He's inserted pencils in his nose.
I'm sure we'll see pencils up the nose later in Blackadder.
At some point. The Queen wishes Edmund was there because he loved parties, and Percy thinks this is another test.
He loved parties, and also he looked great in tights and tight tights.
Yes, she sure is reflecting on that also. And Percy says, Edmund who? And Edmund announces himself as he makes a dramatic return.
Yes, to their delight. Unfortunately, however, Melchett also made it.
Yeah. Melchett comes in and prostrates himself before his queen and does his usual sycophantic drivel. Meanwhile, Blackadder stands behind him and bleats like a sheep.
Blackadder then, incredibly, pulls out a sword and sticks it through Nursey the cow as the Queen screams and tells the guards to take him away. He's murdered.
Yes, he's killed Nursey. That's horrid, she says.
Yeah, she can't believe
She
it.
kills people all the time.
Yeah, but not Nursey, not her friends. Oh, well, she probably does kill her friends as well. But not Nursey.
Blackadder reveals, as Nursey comes in to the room and surprises everybody, that the other cow was in fact their erstwhile captor.
Yeah, well, he pulls off in a Scooby-Doo fashion. He pulls off the head of the cow and we see it's Prince Ludwig.
We see him looking quite distressed, and apparently that sweating was real because it's a very warm costume to wear on set.
I can believe that. And we find out that Queenie also had a past acquaintance.
Yeah, now, I didn't quite catch this. Does he say he was a tall and attractive German stable boy, or a tall, unattractive German stable boy?
And
okay, because she recognises him immediately as Shorty Greasy Spot. So she's the one that's been taunting him all along.
he tries to leave, and what happens?
He says he's going to return and wreak his Rowengi. And Blackadder tosses a dagger at him as he leaves. He screams, but we don't know if he's actually dead.
Presume he is.
He'll be on his way to death anyway.
And so in a Miss Marple, Poirot, Columbo-esque, Jonathan Creek style finale, Blackadder is left to explain what actually happened.
But how did you know it was him?
This was the information with which we bought our lives. We told them that if the Queen was having a party, then Nursey always goes as a cow. From that moment, he was doomed. All we had to do was escape, return, and kill the cow.
But how could you be sure it was not Nursey?
Because, lady, Ludwig was a master of disguise, whereas Nursey is a sad, insane old woman with another fixation. All we had to do was kill the one that looked like the cow. That was the mistake I knew that Ludwig would make. His disguise was too good.
Gosh, Edmund, how brilliant. Welcome home.
Well, I must say, Ma'am, it's good to be back.
Welcome, Edmund. Did you miss me?
I certainly did. Many was the time, Percy, I said to myself, I wish Percy was here. Being tortured instead of me.
Girl, we have missed your wit.
Do you miss me, my lord?
Baldric, is it?
That's right.
No, not really.
And me. Did you miss me, Edmund?
Madam, life without you was like a broken pencil.
Explain.
Pointless.
Now, in the end credits, Blackadder finally catches the minstrel and drowns him in the fountain, and it seems like a happy ending. And in fact, the writers are both happy to leave it there. A happy ending for Edmund, with his queen happy with him, but the producer insisted on a further scene.
Now, what was that?
In the post-credits, we go back to the throne room and everybody's dead. Baldric's dead, Percy's dead, Blackadder's dead, the Queen's dead, Melchit's dead and Nursey is also dead.
Is it perhaps a theme of the show?
Who knows?
Everyone dying in the last episode.
I mentioned last week that the pylon in the morning when they were all drunk reminded me of something. And this is what it is, this pile of people. And above them all stands the Queen speaking in Hugh Laurie's voice. So he obviously was not dead.
Yeah, quite eerie.
He's come back and killed them all. And as we know, the Germans did eventually take the throne in England.
Overall, very enjoyable episode. A good end to the season, the second season of Blackadder, our first season on the podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope folk have enjoyed coming along on this one with us and are looking forward to Blackadder III.
I think Blackadder III might be my favourite season.
Well, hopefully folk who haven't seen it will therefore tune in, and folk who have seen it will agree, or at least like. My recollection is that I think Blackadder II is my favourite. But we'll see.
But it'll be interesting watching it all again in this order.
I think it's a bit different watching things chronologically, because if you're not doing it for a reason, you'll maybe dip in and out of
and you tend to dip in and out of the same episodes.
Your favourite ones, yeah.
Okay.
You got any trivia?
The only bit of trivia I have, and I think it's a little bit tenuous, I'm not sure if I believe it, but apparently the pronunciation of apologies, apologies, was a dig at the Australian TV Awards, which are known as the Loggies. I'd imagine John Logie Baird, or I don't know. Anyway, the Loggies. And as season 1 was made by an Australian production company, the show was eligible for one of these awards, but in Australia it was not nominated.
That seems a stretch.
It does seem a stretch.
And if it were true, it's quite petty.
Very petty. And yeah, I don't think they can complain too much.
My only bit of trivia, I can't remember if we've mentioned this before, Melchit's beard is not real, and it was applied on a day-to-day basis by a makeup artist who was assigned specifically to Stephen Fry. And after a couple of episodes, Rowan Atkinson, who did grow his own beard,
murdered her.
Requested a swap of makeup artists, and went on to marry and eventually divorce her.
Not murder her.
She's still alive,
as far as we know.
At the time of recording.
Oops.
This has happened before.
This could be
We
embarrassing.
did this to Leonard Nimoy, didn't we?
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, that's a Blackadder 2.
So the episode was first broadcast on the 20th of February 1986. Hugh Laurie, again, we'll speak about in the future. The Torturer was played by Max Harvey. He died in 2006, aged 64, known for Land of the Blind, The Upper Hand, Doctor Who in 1983, Blake Seven and Strath Blair. Mark Arden played the first guard, born in 1956. This was his second of 2 Blackadders, so obviously from season 1. Known primarily for London's Burning, Teenage Kicks, New Tricks, Saxondale. Saxondale was brilliant. Underrated. Steve Coogan.
Okay.
EastEnders, The Bill, Bottom, Carry On Columbus, The Young Ones, and he was uncredited in Doctor Who from 1981.
That's most of the bingo set there, isn't it? Just Casualty missing.
Lee Corns played the second guard. I've always known this actor from Grange Hill.
Okay.
One of the teachers there. Born in 1951. This is his first of 3 Blackadder appearances. As I said, Grange Hill, Teenage Kicks, Bottom, Ramsay Nisbet, Collins Sandwich, Tugs, Red Dwarf, The Young Ones, and Doctor Who from 1982.
Okay.
What's your favourite line this week?
I'm trying to remember if we mentioned it in the episode. I've definitely got it noted down here.
Okay, well, while you're thinking about it...
Oh no, we didn't mention it.
Did you not? Okay.
No.
Well, what is it?
Ludwig says, you find yourself amusing, Blackadder, and my favourite line is his response. So he says, I try not to fly in the face of public opinion.
Yes. I'm going for a line from the last clip there, where he admits that he missed Percy and sometimes he wishes he was there being tortured instead of him. Do you have a favourite episode of season 2?
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, I've narrowed it down to 2, but I think I've got a winner. It's either Potato or Money for me.
Okay. I liked Money, but I also liked Head. I'm going to go with Money.
So am I.
Oh, there you go. A unanimous verdict.
Yeah. Next time, we have the first episode from Blackadder III, Dish and Dishonesty.
We'll find out about that in due course.
We certainly will. Okay, that's us then. I think you begged at the beginning.
I wouldn't call it begging. I laid out a logical pattern of behaviour that folk should follow.
That's us. I hope you will all join us for season 3. We'll see you then, 2 weeks.
Okay, cheerio.
Bye bye.